Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection alongside Mr. Simon Bray, Mr. Steven Reid, as always. What's up, gentlemen?
All is well. All is good.
Happy Saturday, circa Wednesday, circa Tuesday. For those watching, you have to guess what day of the week that we tape this on. We don't even know because
No, I don't. I
we had our
really
dates
don't.
all screwed up, right? Because we had to do this one early because Simon's birthday happens to be on the day we normally tape, so we had to throw things around a little bit. So, but it doesn't matter to you all because you're still going to watch this show when it's supposed to air, and that's the important thing, right? So today it is ranking the songs on a classic album day once again. That album is, if you're keeping track, it's not like we haven't announced it. It's Marillion's Misplaced Childhood. We've got various versions. There we go. Look at that. Everybody's got themselves one of these. But before we do that, Simon's going to tell us what he's drinking today.
If Simon had been paying attention, and if Simon had turned up at the right time, not at the wrong time, or if Simon knew what the fuck was going on in the world, Simon would have turned up with, and I know I've done this one before off a kind of lager. But because I don't like lager, I haven't got any. I know I was going to go and buy some, so I've just had to delve into the cupboard of destiny, and I appear to have a European ale. It says Two Tribes on it. Christ knows why. Maybe Frankie Goes to Hollywood made it. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, that kind of look vaguely Frankie Goes to Hollywood, don't they?
Yeah.
I suppose they do.
Yeah. So, yeah, European ale. I'm guessing it comes from Europe. Maybe Joe Tempest and the boys made this one for me. But it's a brewer's edition. It's 4.5. And maybe it'll make me feel a lot better than I currently do because I'm an idiot.
Well, beer will cure all that ails you, Simon. We know that.
I'm not even going to pour it. I haven't even got a glass.
Wow,
You're not a pour it.
he's
You're
really
not
behind the schedule today.
But it would appear that you do have to rank it, though, Simon.
Yes.
Sorry?
So you may
you do need to take a couple sips. Remember,
I will while I'm listening to you. Whilst
Okay.
inwardly, I'm giving myself a really good talking to.
Okay. That's all we can ask for.
Okay, well, I explained this last time. I got freebies at a thing I was at work-wise. So lots of random things. I have got a Cold Town beer. Okay, this is a New England IPA. And I like the fact that on the back, I like to talk about the pretentious, oh, it's going to be a long night, nonsense that's on the back of these tins. And I think by trying not to be like that, this one's done exactly that, because it says beer for beer's sake. Beer for simplicity's sake. For our sanity's sake, let's just call a beer a beer. Yeah. Anyway, the purpose of this one, which I kind of ruined last week, is that this one's from Edinburgh. Hence, it's from
Scotland.
The heart of Lothian.
Oh, the heart of Lothian. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
From the heart of Lothian. And in the glass, because some of us actually know what's going on, it looks a bit like this. But the fact that this is gone is not because I've tasted it. It's because, and I don't usually, I made a real arse support on this. So the head had filled. Anyway, it looks fantastic. It looks a bit like the custard that I often talk about that I'm a bit jealous of. So it is hazy. Very hoppy, as you would expect. And very nice. I say that is, I drink that again. I'm going to be really, really pedantic here and say that's a 3.75 out of 5.
Okay, that's very solid.
Not quite a 4, but 3.5 doesn't feel enough.
Okay, that's fair
nice.
Enough.
That's good.
Simon, have you come to a conclusion on yours yet?
Yeah, I'm going to give mine a 3.1478.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Slightly over 3, but not 3.2.
So that's probably good, right?
Yeah, it's fine. Good. Fine.
Yeah.
Just one will be enough.
There you go. I hear you. All right. So I was very proud of myself about 2 weeks ago since we last taped. I had a fridge full of some really great looking seasonal stouts. And I was really looking forward to drinking one or more on multiple episodes of this show. Well, they're all gone. And I had saved two that I really, really wanted to drink on this show. And the missus drank them both on me the other night. So all the stouts are gone. All the stouts are gone. And what do I have left? I had a 6-pack of something that I bought just because every year I feel the need to buy some pumpkin beer, even though every year I do that and I drink one or two and I'm like, now I know the reason why I don't drink pumpkin beer much anymore. But I was convinced because I asked the purveyor of my local shop over here, I said, is there any new pumpkin beers that have come in stock that people are actually excited about? He goes, try the New Belgium Atomic Pumpkin Spicy Special Release. So New Belgium, they do Fat Tire and also, so it's the Voodoo Ranger line. And this is basically pumpkin ale brewed with habanero pepper. And it looks like this. Smells like a pumpkin. It's got that kind of cinnamony, nutmeggy scent to it. Doesn't smell spicy. Tastes very cinnamony. Oh, and there's a little spice on the back end. It's not too, so for folks who are like, oh my God, I don't like those spicy pepper beers, doesn't taste like pepper at all. There's just a little bit of a hint of spice that goes down your throat after you swallow. But up front, really heavy on the cinnamon. Really heavy on the cinnamon. Again, I don't taste pumpkin, but most of these pumpkin beers they're infiltrated with pumpkin spices, right? So cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, that sort of thing. I don't know if the kind of peppery aftertaste would prompt me to drink more than one of these at a time. It's okay. I would give this 3 out of 5. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. I think honestly, this would be better without, and I love habanero pepper, anything. I love hot sauce. I love spicy food. I don't know that I really like the spicy beers. I've tried many of them. I haven't really enjoyed much of any of them. This, I think, would be much better without it because I think it's not too much on the clove, just a lot of cinnamon. It's okay. But again, I won't need to buy any more pumpkin beers this year. I'll do the exact same thing next year. It'll be like a month into the season. I'll be like, I really should buy some pumpkin beer, even though I know I don't really enjoy any of them, but I just feel like I have to do it, and I'll do it, and it'll take me 2 months to drink 4 of them. So anyway, there we go.
Steven, I feel like I never need to drink anything with pumpkins. I don't even need to be in the vicinity of pumpkins.
I love pumpkin food. I like pumpkin ravioli. I love pumpkin pie. I like anything pumpkin. And I love beer so much that I should love pumpkin beer. And I used to, but I got really burnt out on it because every year, every brewery over here makes pumpkin beer. And they all taste exactly the fucking same. That's my issue with it. And none of them taste like pumpkin. They just taste like pumpkin spice. It's like I want it to taste like pumpkin because pumpkin's got a kind of a flavor to it, right? It's like, I don't know.
Anyway. Halloween are the only pumpkin related thing I like about pumpkins.
Yeah, there you go. I like that too. So
that's it. Yeah. So 3 hours in.
3 hours in. Steven, do you want to kick us off here today?
Right, okay, so we are talking about Misplaced Childhood by Marillion, which was released on the 17th of June in 1985. Man, that's a long time ago. Through EMI, and it features iconic cover art by Mark Wilkinson, which really is pretty special. It looks much better than the Gatefold vinyl. There we go, which I had many, many moons ago. It was produced by Chris Kimsey, who's also worked with everyone from the Rolling Stones to The Cult, Duran Duran, INXS, Peter Frampton, and Golden Earring, of course. How could anyone forget he'd also worked with Golden Earring? This was the band's third and breakthrough album. And it features what a lot of people, and I'm not going to get involved in this conversation, guys, okay, I'm not doing it, would class as the classic lineup of Marillion, with a certain Fish on vocals, Steve Rothery on guitar, Pete Trawavis on bass, Mark Kelly on keyboards, and Ian Mosley on drums. And the album spawned 3 top 30 UK hit singles, with Kaylee getting to number 2 and even to number 14 in the US charts, while Lavender got to number 5 here in the UK. The album got to number 1 in the UK, and it reached number 47 in the US. And it got there on the 9th of November 1985. So it took a little while to kind of reach its peak over there. And it remains the only Marillion album not only to get into the top 50, but to get into the top 100. Nothing else before or after has achieved that. And it eventually spent an impressive 41 weeks on the UK chart. And Marillion then spent basically the next whole year on the road promoting the album. And I would suggest that that tour was already the beginning of the end for this lineup. A lot of the problems that then manifest really come from the way that that tour went on a personal level, shall we say.
Yeah, they were already touring a lot before this album was released. So this just kind of added icing to the cake there, unfortunately.
Yes, absolutely. So normally we would talk about what was in the charts at this stage. Now, I don't know if Simon, with his timekeeping issues, shall we say, has his to hand. We decided to do something slightly different because we've covered this era quite a lot on a lot of shows. So we've gone for what was in the top 10 in the TV charts in the year of the album release. So
close. I've actually gone for the top 20.
Top 20. Okay, when you go, I've done top 10 for the US. Simon's gone top 20 for the UK. Go on then.
Mainly because, well, two reasons. One, we discussed, did we not, Stephen, that people will go, oh, but it's not the charts. You're changing things, but music does not exist outside the realms of everything else that's going on in the culture. And British culture in 1985 was, I think the phrase is, mental as shit, and that's why I went down as far as number 20. Just merely to fuck with Pete's mind. I think that's the real. See how many of these programs / formats made it into the US, shall we? I feel as though we should. Allo Allo was very popular. Comedy about World War II and Nazis.
Very did boom.
And Madonna with the
anyway,
some form of boobies. Yeah, but I really want to talk about Bullseye. Did that make it across there, Pete? Did it? A game show about darts.
That sounds absolutely fascinating.
It really did. They had a contestants and pro darts players, and at the end they both had to throw. What was it, 301 or 501 between them? And the best part was when they lost. And he always used to say, Jim Boyne, who actually taught here in Accrington, always used to say, let's have a look at what you could have won. And they bring on a fucking speedboat for somebody that lives in the middle of the country.
Yeah, it was a remarkably working class show. In a good way. I mean, it was people who, darts was very kind of working class at the time, I suppose. It wasn't the big sport it's become here in the UK and across Europe at the time. And the people who went on, I mean, they could win a few £100s. And back then, that was a big deal. That was a big deal for these folk, and it really was. And it would be, as Simon has mentioned, there would be, at the end, if they didn't win the star prize, it was, here's what you could have won. And invariably, it was something quite bizarre that they would never, ever possibly have a need for or a use for. It was almost...
And a bendy bully. They were given thank you, a bull, just a dart playing bull.
Yeah. Bullseye, bullseye. See, they were so clever. They were so clever back then.
Genius, absolutely. Yes, indeed. Game for a Laugh was a thing at that point.
Wow. Christ, what was it? Us watching them, watching you, watching us. See, I watched far too much TV. This is going to go on forever.
You really did. Would you be able to tell Pete about it?
It basically was a show where there was 4 smug presenters that sat on seats and basically went, the general public, they're clowns, them, eh? And then they proved it.
Wow.
Very, very weird program. Jeremy
Being an education today. Holy cow.
Wow.
used to
Ooh,
hide his hand.
I couldn't even tell you what was being played in the U.S. on TV in '85 because I was in my second year of college.
I've got that covered.
You're going to tell me, okay? How much you want to bet? Half of them I don't even know what they are because I was in college. I wasn't watching any TV at all. I was drinking way cheaper shit than this every day, all hours of the day. So I wasn't watching TV at all. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. Come on, Simon. This is going to be 3 hours long. I'll be quiet.
I know. Just a couple more. That's Life was number 9. That was like a consumer affairs program mixed with kind of like nationwide, which is current affairs and just crazy, really weird format. Just here's some funny shit. And by the way, someone's dying. Just really weird segues, And then the cross-eyed guy at the end reads out letters that were about as funny as being shot. Just very, very, very weird. And into this world, this is where Marillion strolled, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And people. There must be people who watched that went out and thought, Misplaced Childhood. That makes sense. It's just, yeah, just saying. And Coronation Street and EastEnders were number 1 and 2. Not much changes, does it really?
No, not really. Not really.
So, yeah, soap operas, Pete. Soap operas, it makes sense. Yeah, crazy time to be alive. Steve, what could they have won in the US? What could they have won? Show us what they could have won.
Super smashing great and all that kind of stuff. They supposedly never actually said, but there you go. So, in the US, I've gone for the top 10, and the difference is, with one weird exception, which I'm sure everybody else will probably know, but I didn't. I know all of these shows. There's the difference, Pete. You knew none of what Simon spoke about. Nothing new there. Whereas I know all of these shows. Okay, so at number 10 was Who's the Boss? Okay, so there's, right, see, even though already was at number 10, which was a strange kind of comedy about, the genders and who was in charge. And it was remade over here as The Upper Hand, featuring one of the, I believe, 2000 McGann brothers and an actress called Diana Weston. There you are. And it was an odd thing. Number 9 was, it was Miami Vice, obviously. That was my introduction to Jan Hammer. There you go. Number 8, it's all about the theme tunes for me. Thank you for being a friend. It's the Golden Girls at number 8.
Oh, I would have guessed that.
Okay. At number 7, your Dynasty, which I have never seen a full episode of. And at number 6 was Dallas.
But you've got the album Dynasty. You've got it. You're a fan.
And it was Kiss's TV show. That's right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
The Carringtons. Yes, the Carringtons.
They had the shoulder pads and everything.
They did, to be fair, and probably less makeup than some of the leading people in it. But there you go. Number 6 was Dallas, which I have seen lots of episodes of because it was ginormous over here. Number 5 is arguably, in my humble opinion, one of the best sitcoms of all time. Another cracking theme tune because that's Cheers. At number 4, let's get all serious for a second, was 60 Minutes, which was a news show, which strangely enough was broadcast in the middle of the night over here. When ITV went to 24-hour television back in the late 80s, they filled it with all manner of shite. Some good shite too. They had like a rock show. There was an hour's worth of rock videos and things. You can tell I did night shift and things. Not back in 85 because I was 12. Wow. Yeah, they did.
60 Minutes was Sunday evening at 7 p.m.
Well, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday over here.
So it's pretty boring. I don't know who'd be watching that at 3 a.m. in the morning. I mean, Jesus.
Well, anyone that can't sleep, so they'll watch anything because we had one channel. We had one channel that was running 24 hours back then. It was like a novelty. I mean, when you turned it on, nobody would advertise in between the shows because nobody was watching. So why would you pay? So there would be a break in between shows and a thing would come up and it would just go, and that was, then you go back into the show again. It was very weird. Number 3, another great theme tune. No reason to watch the show beyond the theme tune is Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury and all that kind of stuff. Number 2, I have never heard of Family Ties. I have no idea why, because it starred Michael J. Fox. It was shown on Channel 4 over here from 1985 onwards, and it has completely passed me by. It was the one when I was looking this up, I thought. Then I saw the cast and thought, well, I don't know anybody else other than Michael J. Fox.
Wasn't he the young Republican in that? I'm sure I've seen that.
I think that's the idea, and his parents looking it up would appear to have been kind of crazy hippies, and it's that kind of never the twain shall meet kind of jeopardy that happened. Never seen it. That's just reading a little bit about it. Sounds shite. Sounds okay, to be fair. And at number one, after all of that, comes the show we shall not talk about. It's the Cosby Show. Anyway, Marillion with Misplaced Childhood, everybody.
So I will say I've seen all those shows at some point or another. I wasn't watching them in '85, but most of them were already on pre me going to college. So it's like I had experience either before or after, because most of those ran for a number of years. So yeah,
absolutely.
Not all great television, if you ask me. In fact, I watched, my wife was watching some old episodes of the Golden Girls recently. God, that show's awful. It's not funny at all. Like, it was huge here, though, but
I loved it back then. But in '85, I was 12. It's slightly easier pleased.
Yeah, it's really hokey, and the mother just annoys the crap out of me because she's, I don't know. I always hate when they have these characters on TV shows where it's just every line is supposed to be like this comedic gem, and that's all they do is throw out zingers. It's just like it's after a while, it's like, all right, enough of this. This is so forced. Anyway, we can talk about TV shows the whole night. So, Steven, I guess we'll go 3 at a time, right? So, Steven, you want to give 10, 9, and 8?
10, 9, and 8. Okay, so number 10, I'm going to start off controversially right from the off, and I've got props today. I'm going to start with Lavender. That's what I'm going to start with. Okay, at number 10. Look at this band. Look at the dudes. Look at the dudes here. Look at this. Look. Wow, it's all happening there. Slightly better on the back of this one. That's fish on a bad one. The second single from the album, it's never really been a favourite of mine. What doesn't help, actually, is the fact that I went and bought, I've also got 7-inch singles somewhere as well, but the 12-inch single version of this song. And man, oh man, does Fish dilly himself just about to death on that song. On the extended version, there must be, I think, about 17,000 dillies in there. And it gets a bit ridiculous after a while. But that kind of, the moment where the of the drums comes in is still fantastic. So, I mean, everyone knows that I'm a massive Marillion fan. I'm pretty much going to talk up everything on this album. Ranking it was really difficult because it makes, some of the songs make sense on their own. Some of them don't really. But yeah, this has never been a favourite. I think lyrics are a bit repetitive. It's a great guitar solo. It's a great guitar solo. And that's a theme because, I mean, it's Steve Rothery. It's a great guitar solo, isn't it? So yeah, far from bad. It's just not a favourite of mine. Number 9, we have got the marvellously titled Waterhole. Espresso Bongo. I do like that. And yeah, it's more of a way back into the album. It's the start of side 2, as it was, because obviously there's only one actual musical break across all of the music. And as everything on this album does, there are long songs, there are short songs. I mean, basically it's 2 pieces of music, but they're all kind of doing a job. And this job is to start the journey again. And it does it, I think, really quite well. There's a really good section where the bass line powers along and the drums are really full on, and it's Marillion getting a little bit heavy, and I quite like that, to be fair. Number 8, same kind of theme. It is another great title for a song, Pseudo Silk Kimono, and that is what brings you into the album. It's a scene setter, and same again, it does that job really well. It's quite cool, it's quite atmospheric, lots of shimmering guitar lines, slow, deliberate keyboards, and then you've got a really fragile and effective vocal from Fish. And it's a fantastic way to bring into an album that is full of all of these kind of emotions and movements. And there you go. So that's my 10, 9, and 8.
Cool. Simon, would you like me to go, or you want to go next?
Go. I'm ready. Let's really do it the wrong way around today, shall we?
Okay.
You go for it.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So as I was talking to the guys before we started taping here today, I found this, actually, when I was looking to sit down and actually do this, I wasn't looking forward to it because I often, to me, in my head, Misplaced Childhood almost plays out like one long song. Even though you've got the 2 singles that you can pop out of it, I never thought of the rest of this album as an album where you can kind of mix it up and look at each piece on its own, right? It's always, I always take it as a whole. So I thought that this was going to be really difficult. But then as I, re-listened to it, I was like, well, some of these do stand out fairly well on their own. Some still I think of as part of the whole, but it was kind of difficult to kind of kind of track this, in other words, sort of, and figure out, well, which pieces do I like better than others when I do think of it all as a whole. So this was hard. I'm not even 100% sure I like the way I've ranked them now that I look at it, but whatever. I picked Lords of the Backstage as number 10. I don't think there's any bad piece of this album or track at all. Something's got to go down at the bottom. Lords of the Backstage, one of the shorter ones. Like Steven mentioned, you got some longer pieces, some shorter ones. I think it's really good. Maybe on its own, it's not as special as some of the other ones. That's why I put it down below. So that's number 10. Number 9, I have Childhood's End. I mean, this is a great kind of just drifts along. It builds and builds. I mean, it's upbeat. It's melodic. The chorus is great. I really like it. Something's got to go at number 9. And then number 8, I'm going to go with White Feather. And again, it's a great, here we are talking about stuff at the bottom, and we're talking about how great they are. I mean, White Feather is so grand and majestic. You could just I close my eyes and I picture Fish up on stage with the microphone, and he's like swaying from side to side across the stage, just strutting around singing this one. It's a great anthem, and I think this one does work pretty well on its own. I could even rank it higher now that I'm looking at it. I'm like, I probably could switch my number 8 and 7, but I'm not going to do it at this point. So with that, I'll turn it over. So Lords of the Backstage, Childhood's End, and White Feather, 10, 9, and 8. Over to Simon.
Thanks. Okay, so I've got the 1998 digital remaster, and I'm going to guess I had it fairly shortly after that version was issued.
That's what I have as well. Yep.
Yeah, and for a very long time, I ignored it, and then for a very, very long time, it went up into the loft with the rest of my CDs and came back, a couple of years ago, and I know why I initially struggled to get into this album, and the answer to that is number 10, Pseudo Silk Kimono, which I believe Offer once referred to as absolute bollocks. And I'm mostly prepared to stand by that. I really like the sound of the keys. This is a great sounding album. Of that, there is no doubt. I really like the way it sounds. But Jesus Christ, huddled in the safety of a pseudo silk kimono. What? Sorry? Stop it, Stephen. Wearing bracelets of smoke, naked of understanding, nicotine smears, long of what the no. And I think that is why I seldom got past it for a very long time until I said, Simon, you're a grown up now. Time to go from start to finish. And whilst it remains my number 10, I do have a little soft spot for it, mainly because it's just so absolutely hat stand. Don't you think? It's just really, really hot. And I think another thing that kind of put me off Marillion in general is that whole, they're the leaders of the neo-prog movement. Oh, what the fuck, really? Yeah. Do we need another movement? Do we? Well, pseudo Silk Kimono was certainly a movement for a long while in my life. But yeah, there is not anywhere on God's green earth I thought I would ever start at track 2. When I listen to it, I still always started it at 1 and go for it. And the way it actually flows into good old thingy, Kaylee is great. The way the album flows is really, really good. So that's my 10, my 9, and I like everything else from here on in. Waterhole, just because it is. I think you're right, Stephen. It does start side 2 off as in the right way, as it were. But it's a CD, so yeah, it doesn't start off properly, does it? But it flows nicely. It is quite heavy, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It's not exactly Metallica or Cannibal Corpse, but it is quite heavy, isn't it? Yeah.
Not quite Cannibal Corpse. Close though, right? Close.
Just very, very much on the border, isn't it? Yep. And my 8 is Lords of the Backstage, and I think Pete, you encapsulated perfectly. It's not a special. great while it's there. It's fine while it's there. Not a problem at all. But there's the real good shit's still coming. But this, other than pseudo silk kimono, I don't know why I want to call it pseudo pink kimono. What's going through my mind? The pink kimono. I mean, that would be even worse. Pseudo silk pink kimono. Gee, oh God. Yeah. So I really have gone on there with this album from really loathing it to actually thinking, yeah, I'd listen to this quite a lot. This is probably the thing I've listened to the most in 2023, which is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, not weird at all.
It is weird. It's very weird. Very, very weird. It's not Simon. It's not Simon friendly. I'm changing. I'm getting weird as I get older. So yeah, that's me. That's my 10.
Simon finally grew up, I guess, right?
You've met me. Well, you haven't actually, have you? But
not in person, no. But yeah,
no.
Close as I can get this way.
I think now that whenever I start listening to this album, I will now have to listen to Pseudo Silk Cannibal Corpse because that's now what is going to be in my head. But there you go. Okay, another little bit of homework. 3 singles, but that's fine. Certainly over here anyway. I don't know if there was only 2 in the US. Good question. Number 7 for me is White Feather. And it's funny listening to this song with hindsight, because at the time, obviously, you couldn't realise this. But between this, the demos on the Clutching at Straws deluxe versions that are out there, expanded remasters and various things, and then going on to Internal Exile by this chap, there's an awful lot of similarities there. You can see Fish kind of delving into his own past and going, I could do something else with this little bit here. It's an interesting song, and I find it a little bit distracting when I listen to that. And I immediately go, Internal Exile kicking about there. But there you go. It's a fitting, energetic, chanted close to the album. And I suppose that it's one of those songs where I can't help but think that somebody went, if we don't add another little bit, it's going to be a bit doom and gloom when we finish it, isn't it? let's at the end, and it kind of does that job really well, and it is a nice track live. So yeah, it's not the best thing on the album. Some of these songs are really short, and that's the thing that was odd coming to do this. Is some of them are a couple of minutes, some of them are 7 to 9 minutes long. Number 6, I have gone with Lords of the Backstage, and yeah, that's technically, if you go and look at the CD and the running times and all this kind of stuff, it's less than 2 minutes long, sorry. But it's a nice little uplifting piece. I like that it is just a joining piece, but there's great vocals from Fish in there, and I really like Pete's backing vocals on that track. They're always on the money. He doesn't get a great deal of credit because he's always kind of overshadowed by the main singer, whether it be Fish or H, but he's always done great backing vocals, both in the studio and live, and I really like them there. And I like the way that the song is structured to lead you into Blind Curve, which takes you somewhere else entirely. So you're doing the job, doing it very well. And there's the theme for me on this album. So he says, not be able to count. Number 5 for me. Okay, there's more controversy now because I'm going for Kaylee at number 5. Okay, now I bought the single when it came out, so I bought it before the album was released. And it was odd for me. This was one of the first times where I heard a band and a song that I really loved everywhere. They were on Top of the Pops and they were on the radio, and your friends had bought this single and all this kind of stuff. It was a bit odd, really, because that didn't happen with music that I was listening to here in the UK. We didn't have rock radio or FM radio, as you guys would call it. We just had the charts and people that played those same songs over and over and over. So for us to get something in the charts that got as high as it did and got lots of coverage was great. And yet, does that mean that I've now overheard it? I possibly have, and I've tried to remove myself from that. But it is the Marillion song that everybody knows. It is that one that you still hear out and about. And I've never felt it was the strongest thing that Marillion have ever put out before or after, to be fair. That said, it's a great single. I think it makes much more sense as a single than anything else could have done from this album. Yeah. And if anything was going to kind of do something for the band, then it was going to be that. Simon's touched on it already. The sound in this album is great. And yes, there are different versions and different remasters and so on through the years. But go back to the original and it sounds fantastic. And I really, really adore the drum sound on this album. I think the drum sound, and especially the tom sound on this album, it's big and it's bold, and you really hear Ian Mosley going around the kit. It doesn't go. It's just when those little flurries come through, it just takes over everything for a couple of seconds, and I just absolutely love it. And the way that that kind of heralds in a new bit of music for the song, and that happens in Kaylee. So yeah, I mean, I'm just edging into my top half. I love this song. It means a lot to me, and yet still, it's only at number 5. But it's catchy and it's memorable, and really, it catapulted the band into some sort of notice beyond that neo-prog scene that we all desperately did need. Simon, thank you.
Right, yeah, you're right,
yeah. Yeah, but another one of those kind of like hit songs from a band where the hit doesn't really sound much like the rest of their output, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, it's a great song though.
Great song.
Cool. All right, my number 7 is Lavender. Another great pop song, right? So here you have these 2 really cool pop songs on an album that's not really a pop album, right? But I think it's good. Is it a little repetitive? Yeah. But to me, I always thought Lavender was like the younger sibling to Kaylee. It's not quite as successful, but it's still good for what it is. I mean, the vocal is great. I mean, it's a nice little song. That's my number 7. My number 6. Oh, I can't take anymore. Blind Curve. Could be even higher. Dramatic. Could have, to me, Blind Curve could have been on the first 2 albums, I think. It's got that kind of feel to it. I think Rothery's guitar work is excellent. And Ian's, yeah, I know, right? I'm almost done with mine as well. I guess we've been talking too much on this one. I think Ian's drumming on Blind Curve is incredible. I think he's playing on the whole album is really, really excellent. And I like the fact that they kind of rehash the Heart of Lothian melody on this. That's a bunch of songs on this album do that. You get like a little reprise of melodies from other songs. I think that's quite clever on the whole album. So yeah, Blind Curve is my number 6. Could be higher. I was going to switch that with Kaylee, but ultimately I put Kaylee at my number 5 as well. I just think it's a great pop song. It's so memorable, and there's a reason why everybody loved it when it came out. There's a reason why people still talk about it today. It's a really great song. Could you imagine if they like kind of did that sort of thing through their whole career? I think they would have been a really big band. But again, it's just a shame that that's really kind of like the outlier in their catalog. But it caught on for a reason. I think it's a lovely song. I still enjoy listening to it. So yeah, Lavender, Blind Curve, and Kaylee are my 7, 6, and 5.
Okay. My 7, 6, and 5 are in no particular in actual order: Childhood's End, Blind Curve, and White Feather, I believe. Am I right? Or I said that?
White Feather.
No.
No, White Feather. Taking all 3 together, there's a kind of solidity to this record. It's kind of were they not in some vague turmoil because the first couple didn't really sell as much as they thought, and they kind of like had to
They had success, and there was chart success with the first 2 albums, and I mean they were in and about the charts with singles as well. But there was pressure at this stage. They were on a major label.
Yeah, find us a hit.
Yeah, to go do something. And of course, as is legendary, and as many bands did when they were backed into a corner to do something dead commercial, they turned up with a 2-track concept album.
Yeah. That's what kind of makes it difficult to strip stuff out and talk about, apart from the fact that there are singles, and I'm going to put the singles higher. I'm saying that now. But Blind Curve is great. The drums are fabulous. The guitars are really good, and the bit where it does recall Heart of Lothian, it's awesome because I like that shit. A bit like Martin Knopfler's Local Hero thing. I like it when motifs run through stuff. I really do. And White Feather is I've never heard any of those demos of which you speak, Stephen. I don't own any Fish albums, so I don't come through with that. It's just the ending kind of like Randy Orton's it, doesn't it? It just kind of comes out of nowhere. I think you're right. I think somebody said, yeah, go on. Can we just end it on a whoop 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 whoop? Can we chant it up a little bit? Yeah, and I really like the way it finishes the album, because it could have gone I'm sad. And it goes, yay. In as much as, Marillion can go, yay. Because I don't think that was their thing, was it? They weren't the two Ronnies or anything like that, because they were big in '85 as well. So yeah, that's my 7, 6, and 5. I had a panic because a minute ago I didn't have a 5.
You did, and nobody knew until you told us.
Eventually I did. So well done, me.
Absolutely, you had a 5 all along. You just didn't know about it. That's all.
Yeah, the 4 6s didn't help. So yeah.
No, not really. Okay, I'm reaching for props, and therefore that means that my number 4 is single number 3, Heart of Lothian. Best artwork single from the album. Really, really like the cover to Heart of Lothian. And I really like it as a song. Least successful single from the album because it was at single number 3. So by this stage, most people had gone and bought the thing. And yes, it pulls in the end of Bittersweet as its beginning, because as a single, it would have been too short. And really, where it starts on the album would have made no sense to just start the song there. So they quite cleverly pulled in a section from the song before. And I think this is one of Fish's best vocals on the album. I like it when he uses that kind of lower register. He does do a lot of the high-end stuff at this point, which I'm sure he now regrets a little bit when he tries to redo some of it live, shall we say. Because he's really commanding when he sings like that, and yet he's still a very emotional storyteller. I like the way the guitars and the keyboards, they kind of face off against each other all the way through this song. There's a definite kind of battle for supremacy, which I like. There's cool slower sections, loads of atmosphere. I really like this song. And I had great fun in the last couple of weeks going back and watching the video for Heart of Lothian, because the actor Glyn Edwards, who people will know as, let's see, Dave, the barman from Minder, basically reprises that role in the video as the band are driven to a gig in this tiny little pub in what would appear to be, I don't know, is it an old Bentley or an old roller or a Jag? I don't know what it is, but it's a beautiful old car. And yet the singer is out there going, for some strange reason. And it's got absolutely nothing to do with the song whatsoever. Not a thing, not even close, not even near. It really just appears to be an excuse to get Dave the barman from Minder in a video. It's very weird, but it's good fun. So there you go. Anyway, number 3, yes.
Well, if they'd have got Dennis Waterman in from Minder, he would have insisted on singing the bloody song, wouldn't they?
I think he probably would have done, but he would have been so good for them.
He really would, wouldn't he? Yes, he would.
I could have brought them some new tricks. Anyway, I'll stop now. Okay.
See what you did there. Yeah, I'll set the Sweeney on you, but yeah.
Number 3, I've gone for Bittersweet. Oh, I mean, those drums at the start are just so assassin, aren't they? Dum, 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 dum. It's so good. And I love the surges, the keyboards. I love the hi-hat shuffles in this song that really kind of spurt out. And then there's strange kind of tubular bell noises in the background. I mean, we're right back in early Marillion mode here, and it's absolutely fabulous. And another thing I've always liked about this song is that Fish does a spoken section. And I really like it when Fish does a spoken section, not only because he's got gravitas and atmosphere, but because it meant that for probably the only time in my life, I could sing along with an album and sound like I knew what I was doing, because a spider wanders aimlessly within the warmth of a shadow. Not the regal creature of border caves, but the poor, misguided, directionless familiar of some obscure Scottish poet.
Derek, is that you? Derek, I can hear you. Derek.
Come on, let me get to your carnation will rot in a vase. I mean, come on, it's
I like the way that you went in a vase. I like that.
Did you know he's going to? I mean, it's complete and utter bunkum, isn't it? But it's phenomenal, and I'm totally on board. It's great. And then the guitar solo comes in. Oh, that's pure poetry. The guitar solo is absolute poetry. The other things I like about this is I like the fact that Marillion have done it at various points. Is there are little isolated drum strikes? He just boom. And then you think, well, what's he going to do now? He does nothing for the next couple of minutes. He just lets the next 20 bars go by and goes boom again. Somebody wake up the drummer, please. I love it. It's so good. Do you know? Really fantastic. Excellent. But the way it goes into that rain on me, rain on Me. Love it. Anyway, Sublime. Number
Derek,
two,
I've lost you. Derek's gone. No, don't know where he's gone. No.
Childhood's End. One of the more unashamedly kind of up-tempo tracks. It's clever light and shade on the album, I think. On an album that has a lot of light and shade, to be fair. And again, the drums are right up there doing what they need to do. But it's the vocal melody that takes the song just up a notch. I mean, Fish, you could argue, and I'm sure people will complain, that he was never a superb singer in the kind of classic sense. Do you know, you couldn't lift him out of this band and put him into every other situation and he would thrive. But in this band, he was perfection. And he brings that kind of urgency and kind of storytelling that this album couldn't have survived without. It needs that. It needs that kind of narrative thread to pull it through. And it needed those little bits of music to come back again to remind you that we are talking about a story and we're referring back to this point at this stage and all this kind of stuff. I mean, the story's kind of, but let's not kind of go too far down that. But it needs that narrator who can really just sell you what he's talking about. And that was this man. And there you go. So that's my number two. I think we're leaving number one for the end, though.
Number 4 is Waterhole, Espresso Bongo. I like Angry Fish. He's angry in this song, right? This is pretty the jagged guitars, and the keys are really nice from Mark Kelly. I like Waterhole. I think it's a really cool song. I like the Mark's keys are just the way they just kind of like drift along there. Very, very cool. I like that song a lot. Number 3 is, I'm surprised it ranks so low for the both of you, but I love Pseudo Silk Kimono. Those opening keyboards are haunting, and it's just, I love his kind of his the way he's singing. It's almost like he's looking up a curve, and it's just chilling, and it's emotional. I love it, and I think it perfectly sets the stage for the album. I wish it was longer, actually. I wish it was longer. Really good. I really like that a lot. And number 2 is Bittersweet. It was almost my number 1. I like how it contains parts of other tracks on the album. I love this. It replays the Lavender melody, which I think is terrific. Goes in all sorts of other directions. It's atmospheric. The keyboards are great. The guitars are amazing. And Fish is totally killer on this song as well. On the whole album, really. So yeah, Bittersweet. I wouldn't be surprised if it was someone's number 1 because it's excellent. But yeah, that's my 4, 3, and 2. Over to Simon.
If I was a band right now, I'd be bringing the hits out to play. I've saved all the non-hits, and now I'm bringing the hits out to play. My 4 is Heart of Lothian, which for a long period I thought was like massively racist. I thought it said white boys for a very long time. It says wide boys, doesn't it? Wide boys. Yes, make completely different context to that. Yes.
Yeah, I think you know what a white boy is.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. But it's such a
Simon. Peter does not know what a white boy is. Would you like to explain what a white boy is?
My understanding of a wide boy is that they're a little bit of a geezer, a little bit of
Absolutely. If you're a white boy, you're a chancer. You're kind of that kind of guy that's, bit of this, bit of that. You're just
a bit like Minder.
Did that not a bit like Minder? Did that not really help you there, Pete? No, a US parlance for a white boy.
I think a wide boy is someone who's kind of wide, right? But I don't want to say that. But,
it means he's the sort of guy that he's always got something on the go. You're not really sure what, but it's probably not legit. He's always got a line. He's always quite smart. He's always ahead of the game. There's always something questionable about him.
Gotcha. So it's kind of sketchy.
Quite often in a big city, and this song references Tower Blocks and the Royal Mile, doesn't it? I think I'm on the right song right now. Yeah, and it's just a really cool chorus. And I think that's the thing about these hits. They're such cool choruses. I could listen to the chorus for Lavender. I could dilly like Claudio Ranieri for hours on end. Yeah. I really could. And do you remember last week when we were fighting? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, I live such a wacky, fun lifestyle that every time me and Mrs. Simon, who has now kind of met Peter, every time we go to the supermarket and we said, should we get some air freshener? Shall we choose some lavender? And one of us will always say dilly, and it's fucking hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah. Just saying. But just such a good tune. You can see why did he make it something like number 5 in the hit parade? Is the
Oh,
no Lavender.
Lavender goes number 5. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
got
You can see, you could see why it is such a good tune and just perfectly to just go place it out, little 7-inch, and really cool. My 2 is Kaylee. Just such a well constructed song. The bit when it goes Kaylee, because I can sing badly as well, is just fantastic. I know, and one of the other interesting things about Kelly, which has nothing, well, virtually nothing to do with the actual song, is that I taught a lot of Kayleys in the early 2000s, and the conversation you went something like this. Oh, hi, Kaylee. Are you named after? Yes, the fucking song. Like that. I must have taught at least.
Meanwhile, that's not a popular name here at all. And up until this song, I never heard the name. But ironically, my neighbor 2 houses down, their daughter's name is Kaylee. It's the only person I've ever known in my life who was named Kaylee.
No, see, neither had we until this song. And as Simon says, now you do.
Yeah, it's a bit in the same way that they didn't used to be lots of Kylies, and now there are. Weird, isn't it? Yeah, but anyway, it's just a really good pop tune. Pop pickers, just saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, I have kind of gone for the hits up top, but maybe not right at the peak.
Okay. Well.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm glad that one of us actually has. I mean, they still sometimes pull these songs out live, and if I'm in the audience when they do so, it's quite unseemly, I have to say.
For you or the other Blue Rinse people that are there?
Well, because of me, it's for everybody. It's quite unseemly.
Yeah. Did they have to spread the lavender dilly dilly afterwards?
They definitely do. Yes, they most definitely do. And usually there's a mop for aisle 2, please. Right. So number 1 for me is Blind Curve. And yeah, I would say that this is maybe the last time that Marillion sounded like first 3 album Marillion. This harks back to what they were doing in the first 2 albums. And when you move on to Clutching, it becomes very much the same, but definitely something different, much more kind of song oriented and various things. But there you go. I just think that Steve Roddy's on fire on this. He's dramatic, he's melodic, and he takes you through all manner of emotions. The keyboards are fantastic. And I just think the arrangement is amazing. I really do. I think it's such a well constructed album and song that you can tell how much time and effort went into this and budget and going over time and all this kind of stuff. And I love it when Fish goes, that childhood. That childhood. Please give it back to me. It's phenomenal. It really is. And yet, we've all spoken about it. I love how we get the reprise of the Heartolodian solo and the melodies and various things. Yeah, pretty much fabulous for me. It's a great song.
I was born to a Heartolodian. That's my number 1. What an anthem, right? So catchy and majestic. I think Fish at the height of its powers. And I just picture myself if I was into the band at the time. I got to see them then when they sang this live. Everybody was doing this. And it's just, yeah, it's a great song. But there's a lot of great songs on this album. So Heartolodian, my number 1. Simon, what do you got?
My number 1 is obviously Bittersweet because I've got great taste. And you mentioned Assassin there, Stephen, didn't you? And if I'd have realised that we're doing this tonight and not any other night, this is the point where I would hold up my 12-inch of Assassin. You could do that for me, couldn't you? Just thank you.
Keep talking.
I'm not going to mention it any further, but yeah.
No, are you done? No, you finished?
No, I just loving the empty chair. We could, do that thing where we talk about you behind your back again, couldn't we? But
we do it so well when I go off camera.
Yeah, we do, don't we?
Yes.
There you go.
There we go.
That's one of the very few actual Marillion things that I've actually got, and I love that so much. Never play it, but I select it to stream occasionally. But I really, really do love Bittersweet. It's just so awesome, and I like the bit. I like this. I actually like the spoken word intro. Now that I realised it was actually done by you, I like it even more. I like it, because I know it's got nothing to do with it. I'm a huge fan of Noel Coward's Brief Encounter. It's one of the greatest films in the history of mankind. But I've grown to love something I really didn't used to like, and that's Fishy's weird vocals on this. I've grown to think, wow, that is so idiosyncratically cool. God, I hope that's right. Yeah, yeah. Especially the opening part of the Lost Weekend segments when the driver guzzles another kind of lager. I love that bit. I wish that the lager would come in quite a few more times. But then to wash away the memories of a Friday night down at the club, just fucking brilliant. Absolutely insane.
Complete. It's even better live, Simon, because he always goes club.
Oh, does he really? Okay,
He accentuates it.
Don't feel like Fish did that on the one occasion that I saw him, but it's just so good. It does weave the melodies from other tunes. It's just really, really good. And I quite like the sweet nature of it because it's sweet. It's got little bits to it, hasn't it? Because it's a sweet. You know what I mean? And it's got the qualities of the hits, but it's just like you think, yeah, look at me, I know a deep track. Ooh, go on me, yeah. So I know, yeah. And it is that, particularly the opening part of Last Weekend, is just absolutely phenomenal, and that's probably why it's not my number one with a bullet.
Cool. It's a great one. It's my number 2. I totally get it. Awesome. So everybody watching, you now have the unenviable task of doing what we had to do here and break this album apart and rank the songs in the order that you like them. It's not easy. This is not an easy album to do that with. So to me, this was kind of like when we did Night at the Opera. That was also very difficult, I think, to kind of pick apart. So I think this was kind of similar in a weird way. So, yeah. Steven, you want to give everybody a preview of what's happening in 2 weeks from today?
Give me a preview.
Yes, especially for Simon. That's why we do this every time.
Well, nobody can suggest that we're not eclectic because we go from a neo-prog, yes, Simon, a neo-prog classic. There are people who say, what does that mean? I don't know. We're going from that into an AOR melodic rock show. Okay, so the classic for that will be Midnight Madness by Night Ranger. The underground classic will be Night of the Crime by Icon. And they made an AOR album is 17 by Chicago, which I have never heard in my life before. So I am in for, I would guess, a fun journey, but we'll find out. So yeah, that's what we're doing on the next show.
That's a good trio of albums right there. So it'll be an interesting conversation. So stay tuned 2 weeks from today for that and more. And hopefully,
I'm just going to write that down.
Simon will have some a better beer at that time, I think, right? And I will not have another one of these because I think during this episode I decided this is 2.5 out of 5, not 3. Yeah.
From today.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's very tasty, but it has repeated on me during the show. I was talking about whatever song I was sitting here going.
Peter, pumpkin is the jizz of the devil. One day you will come round to my way of thinking. Just exercise pumpkins from your life.
Yeah, so okay. Pureed or whole?
Whichever way you want. All forms of pumpkin.
Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, and our Cameo page. So thanks in advance for all your support there. And we'll see you back here in 2 weeks on the UK Connection. For Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good one, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.